Welcome in, everybody. 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10. It is going to be a little bit more than 10 today because we're in a unique situation that many of you ever have seen me in. We are in studio today with a guest, which I think has only happened like, I don't know, maybe 4 times out of 250 that we've done these things. So I'm excited for it. It's exciting to do these and have that sort of opportunity. Matt and I have been trying to connect for a while on Matt getting on the show. In case you don't know, Matt Thoraldson, classic car guy is just what I call him. Matt, let me ask you something, man. When you got started in this whole thing, how old were you when you went down the road of being in the cars?
Quite a young age, probably 5 or 6, as far as first getting into them, building the models. My uncles had a couple, the neighbors had some, so always being over at the neighbor's house watching them restore. He had a 65 El Camino. Nice. So he, motored, not rotisserie, but he restored it frame on, and I don't know, just the looks, the styling, the so character cool of the cars back then is just.
That's the word, right? Character. Yeah. Like we were talking about, we talk about newer cars and we were talking about EVs, but in general, newer cars just aren't, they just don't have the level of sexy. That's how I look for cars. My wife always jokes with me that you just look at the grill and the rims. I'm like, give me other things that define a car, like body lines or anything else. When you look at classic cars from your perspective as the job, actually, why don't we go back a step? Tell folks what does Matt do? We all see you with really cool cars on LinkedIn. We always see the cool photos of the cars you're looking at for people. What's the job? How do you
licensed dealer in the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
I do inspections, pre-purchase inspections, which I go pretty much all over the country if someone sends me there. And then certified appraisals. And the appraisals and inspections aren't just classic cars. I'll do new cars, total loss insurance kind of claims and stuff, and whatever the car is. Insurance companies today are requiring appraisals for older vehicles a lot more than they used to. So
is that from a value perspective of the value changing?
Yeah, value changing, or just them getting a new car. The value in general.
And so the value, I think classic cars is something that falls into a category of sort of like diversifying wealth, right? So you have art, you have cars, you have houses. On that end, when you run into people like that, right now, are you seeing more people wanting to get into the industry and buy into classic cars or sell the classic cars that they have?
Well, let's say about the cars and the cars that we're seeing a mass influx of selling is the 54 and under cars. Okay. That demographic, to say it nicely, is just kind of moving on to the next part of their world or whatever. Okay. So the younger generation just doesn't seem to be attached to those pre-war cars.
That's interesting. So we're talking 1950.
Say 54 and under.
54 and under.
Yep.
Right, 55 still has the 55 Chevy that identifies. We're in our 40s, right? So it all identifies.
55 or 57.
Yeah, well, 57. Right? Yeah,
I'll take the 57.
I'm never positive. You always post those which will you take, at ABC, and I'm always like, I don't know, if I can take all of them. They're all awesome. But so it's interesting. Pre-war cars, because living here in Wisconsin, we always see the guy in the summertime with the Model Ts, right?
Yeah.
But less and less. They're not at the car shows. They're not which means they're not around. When you go out to look at cars right now, if 55 is kind of where people are selling, underneath that, where are people buying? What number do you have? Is there an age range of people?
The muscle cars are always hot.
So 60s the number there?
I'd say 60s is good.
Is that the hottest phase for your buyer?
Pre-73 and under, 74 and under for some.
Okay.
And then the 80s stuff is starting to pick, it has been picking up. Your Fox bodies, your Camaro IROX. Back in our day, $3,000 could buy you a real nice Z28 with low miles. Yeah, I don't think that buys you a junker anymore.
No, dude. And being in the car business on my side, you see that sort of minimum price range that you used to have a spot on your website for $15,000 and under. Well, that's now like $25,000 and under. Whereas when I got in the car business, it was the bargain lot that was under $10,000. I mean, I've only been doing it since '98, but we're talking 25 years, and the number has changed. with the valuation of classic cars, how has it changed? And does it follow? I've always wanted to ask you this. Does it follow markets like the stock market? Is that how the valuation, not as volatile, not as daily, but has it gone up and down with you with recessions, with downturns? Do you see that
again? Really, the only thing I've seen the price after COVID jacked all the prices up all around.
Even for you,
everything on classic cars.
Even for you, like even crazy. Like we know we saw it on the new car side,
yeah,
the retail side,
classic
like,
cars too.
Really?
Absolutely. And then,
but like
people are stuck on that. That was how many years ago?
I know,
They're
but what?
stuck on
Ask yourself, why did it go up? Right?
No,
Like, it didn't become a different year car.
Well,
Right?
Classic cars is such a niche market too. It's not
really
like a new car.
No,
So
it's a specific buyer.
And the cars I'm seeing losing money are those 54 and under cars.
54 and under cars.
Your Model Ts.
Okay.
What once was maybe not so much like a 32 all steel coupe or something.
Sure.
But the majority of your street rods have significantly went down in value. Which can be good or bad, because you get them low enough, you're going to start getting that younger generation anyway that can afford to get in a hot rod V8.
For sure. And with that, so okay, now we're into that next part, demographic. Classic cars, buyers, younger, older. What is Matt seeing? What does the market look like right now?
For the cars we have, it's mostly 45 and up,
okay,
give or take. And that's just because of the cars that we have. For me, I don't mind having cars that are 15 grand and under. What people want let's say muscle cars, 15 grand for a muscle car, it's a project car.
Right. That's what I was saying. What are we getting at 15 grand? Like how far projected?
Maybe running, maybe not. Yeah. But I'm seeing that where people they want to buy turnkey. Man, do I switch a radio or a wheel or something? Sure. But no, it's ready to go drive it coast to coast.
Yeah.
And that's what people are paying, good money for too.
To be road rock and roll. How about the upgrades that I've read about where these cars get sort of retrofitted into the newer generation of things? What do you think of it? A, and B, do people ever try to like pull that over on you? Like, or is it like something people hide or they admit, or like, how does that conversation go in your world when people do retrofit? Is it something they're proud of and they scream about?
Like a resto mod?
Where they put on the newer stuff,
Yeah, no, it can. If you just shove an LS in it, that's not really doing much.
Right.
But I've seen, let's take a 57 Chevy. I just did a appraisal for a guy. LS3 in it, Tremec 6-speed, Art Morrison chassis. That's a brand new handling car. That's a brand new car.
Right.
Those are bringing high six figures for some of that stuff.
Huge.
Done right. Yeah.
So modded out where it's cool, but it's still on the body of the car. Is that
it's still on the body?
That's
chassis.
So what makes it classic? Is there a way that people jump the shark where they're like think they have a classic car, but they've done like too much retro to it, where it's now like a newer car? Like, is there a line for that, or is it just the evolution?
Really. Not really.
It's just the evolution that making those cars newer. Has been a part of that.
They want
everyone wants air conditioning,
power
windows.
They want the fuel injection.
Right.
Everyone's wrapped on the LS. This is a great motor.
Right.
It's fun.
But that's still the point, is they want newer.
Yeah.
But everyone wants the style in that.
Reliability. And then you can build. I'm not so much a turbo guy and stuff, but they're easy. You put a turbo on those stock motor and boom, you can get some good numbers.
Really.
So
the modifications of those cars is still good. When you go to look at those up, when you talk about the pre-inspection, talk to me about what that process looks like.
Yeah. So I'll go through the car completely, cosmetically, mechanically, structurally. One thing that I use, and most inspectors should use, is a paint thickness meter, a digital one, so you can really see where the filler is. Because some of these cars look great, but then you start poking around and they got a 5 gallons of Bondo on the roof hiding a nickel-sized dent. Right.
Because old car guys, again, that's who I learned from, old car guys. So it used to be about on the where the windshield meets the hood, that piece of the hood, we were to run our fingers around that line. If it were rough, the car had been in an accident. If it were not rough, the car had been, it was still factory, if you will. That was like the easiest way for us to figure it out. Now you're telling me there is a gun that you walk up to and you basically say, and you'll know what a car's been repainted.
Handheld device, so it'll tell you the top layer, the paint to the metal, so you can kind of go through and kind of see. And so
anytime that varies indicates
it can vary. Yeah, how many times has the car been painted? But you start going through and you notice an area where it's not registering or something, and you can kind of see where things are, and you start really digging in, and they can find Bondo or filler.
All right, so let's go back to this whole thing, because I like to say I trust the human race. I don't really. How often are they forthright?
Oh,
and
now,
then do they get to play the I don't know because I bought it this way card with you as well?
It's hard. There's a lot of people. I mean, pictures can only tell. So you make a pig on a lipstick look good in the pictures.
Yeah.
But most of your big name dealers, I go down to Unique Classic Cars a lot. Those guys are great guys. Very forthcoming. They what I find isn't a lie. It's why wasn't this shown to me previously?
Yeah.
But no, usually the dealer, well-known dealers, Fast Line, I was down there, great cars down there. But you get to some of the private parties or some of the smaller unknown dealerships, and I've seen a lot of crap.
Yeah, dude, because sometimes you're in. I feel like you're in people's private garage where there's
sometimes
you're looking at 3 or 4 cars. They got the lifts and shit inside their garage.
Do you know how tough it is doing an inspection, knowing you're there to not really tear the car but to really go through the car, and then the owner's just staring over you the whole time, like, man, it is what it is. I can't hide this.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. When you're in and you're surrounded by multi-million dollars worth of cars, that this is what they're looking for, but yet you're like, this thing's it's fucked up. It's wrong.
But sometimes
that's crazy.
You got to word things right with some people, because some people don't understand certain things. Like, oh, there's some surface rust. Well, that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
car's been out driven in the elements. There's going to be something there.
Yeah,
I've just, some of the wording is just people just, they don't get, non-car people don't get it. They think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it's also not fun. After charging, a lot of these guys have put a deposit down, and then they pay me, and then. Yeah, the car's not what it is, and some people get upset. Not at me, but they get upset, and it's just like,
you're really it's an individual party thing, right? It's not you're not dealing with some company. You're dealing with a person who's trying to do this. I also envision you as a car hunter, where I'm like, hey Matt, looking for a 65 to 67. Yeah. Let me know if you come across something. When you go out looking, what are you looking for? What makes Matt go, this is worth investing in?
Yeah, so I just did that, hunted for a car, 70 Chevelle for a local couple that came in. People have to ask for me to do that. I don't have to quite advertise that because it's time consuming and stuff.
Yeah.
But you look, first thing you do is you look for reputable dealers to buy from, really, or a private party, because you're gonna have to you're gonna go inspect the car regardless.
You're going in anyway.
But just try to find the closest options that they want, but the cleanest stuff.
Yeah.
So they'll give you their qualifications for it. Some people don't care about the paint. Some people don't care about bubbling, or some people, different levels people care about as far as things that you find. But
things that cosmetic. What's this? What's that?
Yeah.
All right. So now we're dealing with cars that are 60 years old. What mileage does Matt run into now on cars, on classic cars? What is still considered to be good? Does that number change?
That number, if it's an all numbers matching kind of vehicle, those numbers matter. But
all right, hold on. I've heard you say it before. I've read you say it before. What does that mean?
The motor's original to the car.
Okay.
The transmission's original and the rear axle original. Corvettes and I think a couple other cars always had the last 6 of the VIN stamp, but it wasn't mandated until 68. So at that point, what you do is you read the trim tag, you read the date codes on the motor and casting numbers, and you just kind of
put together the story.
Yeah.
But number matching means it's all factory.
Yeah, it's all.
Does that have anything to do with having body damage, repair, anything like that? No, it doesn't matter. You're just talking strictly about.
I'm just talking about the drivetrain.
Just those drivetrains.
Yeah, and you can get more into it too, as far as
But that's the creme de la creme, is when all those numbers match.
And depending on what kind of car. I mean, you want to check the numbers on the carburetor, the master cylinder. Depending on how original the car is, there's a lot of other numbers that matter too.
Yeah.
And like Mopars have hidden VINs, so you want to always check those when buying, making sure those match up.
What is a hidden VIN?
They'll have the VIN. Let's take like a 70 Roadrunner.
Okay.
It's on the radiator support. There'll be a parcel number that you can match with the data tag.
Okay.
And then rear trunk lid is embossed is the number that will match with the car too. So
really?
If like the 70 Roadrunner didn't have the radiator support, but a lot of them didn't. It's got in an accident or rusted out. Those are commonly done. But having the trunk one there really validates what the vehicle is.
What a car is.
Yep.
Wow. Do you ever run across people who like don't realize what they have? And they have
Not so much.
They have something cooler, like they came into like an inheritance. And they're like, I don't know what this is. No, okay.
I think we live in a time where people do their homework enough.
Google's there enough.
Yeah,
you can upload enough pictures. You can read enough blogs.
Yeah.
You can go to Reddit. When you're out and you're dealing with the idea of acquiring a car, what is the negotiation process like anymore? Like, is it still alive and well? Is it something that people just, this is your price, this is how it is? What is it like in the classic car?
There's always, everything's negotiable.
See, that's what I say. But everyone's COVID still, when nothing was negotiable. No one's forgotten, even though they should.
But the classic car, most people have room. At least I do. I can't speak for other people, but everything's negotiable. You always add a couple percents to knowing that they're going to knock you down a couple bucks, And
that when you're doing it for your customers, you deal with that. But otherwise, you're just strictly there to see what a car is, what it is not, and what it's worth. So you're kind of a middleman in that way, where it's like
when you're searching for a car for someone, you're just making sure that they're getting what they're looking for.
Yeah, but when you're just an appraiser, then you're just just an appraiser.
Yeah,
sorry, this is what it's worth. Do you?
People get mad about that too.
Well, right. That's what I was going to say. So do you deal with people who expect it to be worth more because someone told them so?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'll never name companies, but there's a company in Minnesota that I'm going head to head with, not as an appraiser, but as a dealer. Overvaluing what a vehicle is by substantial amount, and it's hard to tell that owner, hey, this isn't right.
This car is not this.
That's 20. The one I just did was a 47 Chevy. The guy got appraisal for $40,000. That car's worth $40,000. In the last 10 years. Especially for a 4-door. Maybe a coupe or something. No, come on. I'm like, hey, you're probably looking at upper teens to low 20s, like realistically for a sell, because of what the market is on those. But to have to tell the owners, hey, that's not fair to them. Number one, spending the money on But I tell these guys too, when it comes to appraisals, it comes to that value. Let's say something happened where you had to go in and do the insurance claim and had to back it up with the appraisal. Yeah. How did you come to that value?
Right. Someone else is going to question that along the way, right?
Yeah.
Someone else is going to be independent of whatever discussions happen with
legally,
you or not.
Come back.
Right. And I think that's what I think a lot of people don't understand about you and your position is that as an appraiser, if something comes back, it comes back on you as the individual.
Absolutely.
Matt, does that happen to you? Has that happened to you?
Not really.
Have you dealt with an insurance issue where someone thinks that, you've had arguments over the claim or value of a vehicle?
I've never, I've done a couple of those total losses where I went against the insurance, and we've always come to an equal value. I've never, knock on wood, have experienced anything negative as far as that goes.
With that, being an appraiser.
Other than people upset that they didn't think the value was too low, but I do current market value. Why would I value your car?
And what do you use for that? Do you use tech tools, or
there's several different things. Yeah, several different things. You always look at the auctions too. What they sell for, because that's a realistic price. And maybe not so much Mecum and Barrett Jackson, with some of those prices.
No.
Really look at,
but even localized markets, especially for some of the appraisals you might be doing for insurance stuff, and as a car guy, we look at that too. That's what a car is worth.
Yeah.
Customers hated hearing that when I was, as a salesperson, but it was the reality. It was like, dude.
I had one lady I just took her car in. She took it off because she didn't like what the price was. I'm like, sorry, you're in new GT money, Coyote money, or for the 0506, you're in GT 500 money, low miles. How do you justify what you have? And by $5, $6, $7 grand.
People don't realize, right? Because they hear a number. That was always the hardest, man. Selling cars. People think something's worth something, just because you owe that doesn't make the car worth that. That was always a line that I would say when I was younger, because it was like that's not a $30,000 car.
Yeah.
That's not a $25,000
Your
car.
sentimental attachment isn't that.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Like, how
you know?
often are you having to like therapize people that
Yeah.
like, look, it's the sentimental stuff. I get it, but it's not worth that.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that I just took in a Buick and the guy just doesn't want to sell it. 53 Buick Skylark convertible, which is a very rare car.
Okay.
But he got me up there. Great guy, took me to dinner at Schwartz's. Do you know where that is?
No.
Oh, it's up by that Elkhart Lake Supper Club. Super nice.
Oh,
If you're
nice.
up there, go for sure.
Okay, all right.
But the whole time he's just, I don't know if I want to sell it, man. I don't know if I want to sell. I just want to keep. I'll never have another. I'm like, cars come and go. Let me sell this for you quick before we back out of it. But no, some people have that firm attachment to it. It's cool.
Do you run into a lot of original owners still?
A couple, not as far as some of the classics, maybe one or two where it was the actual original. Otherwise, I've had a lot of 2-3 owner documented cars, but yeah, not too many actual one owner, as far as something significantly worth value.
Yeah, that's something awesome. Being in Wisconsin as we are, we always hear about the barn finds. How often or ever are you in barns looking at cars that got uncovered?
Slim to none.
Never a
honestly,
thing.
yeah.
A little bit more of a myth.
We still do restorations, but I'm so focused on the dealership, I don't have time for that. Still got a bunch of cars that need to be finished. Where's the time? I can't take any more in. But the problem too with the barn, if someone had say it's GTO Judge or obviously I'll go out and take a look at that. But,
right.
The reality is it's just no one wants the project cars.
So as a dealer with a lot, how many? What are you keeping for inventory? What do you like? What's your size inventory that makes sense for you?
I'll take in anything. As far as how much and how many cars.
Yeah,
I like to right around 60, and that can be a lot. As far as being my position where I don't have any other salesman. I got an office lady that does the office work and stuff. But yeah,
you carry 60 cars on a lot as the only salesperson.
Oh yeah, and some of the consignments aren't on the lot though either.
Got it.
My showroom isn't public. I don't have time to. I'm gone so long too. So if someone wants to look at a car, either come to the private warehouse or some of the consignments are at the owner's house, because a lot of my business is out of state, some overseas. So
really,
people are wiring money, and I get the car set up shipping with Don Brady all the time. Just talk to him today.
No, you're a guy, huh?
Yeah,
that guy is amazing marketer. Even more amazing human. Yep. Don Brady with the call off by Matty T, dude. I love that. That's a full circle shit right there.
I message him any time of the day. He gets back to me, and
he's a no nonsense cat. No, he really is. It's why he puts his cell phone in his fucking LinkedIn signature. You know what I mean? Like, it's everywhere. I love it. No. He's an unbelievable guy. And again, car guy, right? Like, did the job, loves the job. Now back being a car guy as well with his small lot and just everything he does. I love it, man. That's what I love about the industry of being in the car business. And frankly, Matt, I didn't really know until now that you really were like a lot guy, that you sold cars in that way. I thought it was more of the appraisal side of your world.
There's a lot of people I know that don't quite know it. Is it your cars? What's
I've wanted to ask you, like, yeah, because you're always in front of something interesting. You always have, you have like, my social media team would call your cars just, social media gold, where you can just put the shit up and you don't have to say nothing. You can just post it, where the rest of us are like, what do we say? How do we do this? What can we do to get attention? Matt's just like, here, how about a 52nd Chevy? You're just like, fuck, like,
Cars sell themselves.
They do, right? And there's an ass for every seat. I've always said that.
I love saying that, because there is. It's my job to find that ass.
Find that ass and find that seat. It doesn't matter either way.
Numbers game. It's all numbers. You knock on 100 doors, you're getting a sale.
A man who's been doing it. Oh, dude, that's awesome. All right, so let's. You've been generous with your time. Let's wrap it up. Right now, obviously the used car market, things are going to get crazy right around here. If things continue on the certain progress and there's no new cars for sale, or if they do cost 25% more to sell, what do you expect the used car market to do, man? What do you think is going to happen? We're going to go back to a COVID style, just bust out of used cars where they're going to get expensive and nothing's going to be available?
Hey, if I can sell cars for more money, hey, I'm all about it. But realistically, I don't know. The classic cars is, like I said, different than the used cars. So what I do see, like with the interest rates being higher, you see some of that crowd, you'll lose some of that. But
do you see that? That's an interesting point. Do you see people acquiring classic cars like?
Yeah, when some
with notes,
some of the guys with money, yeah, they can get 1-2%.
Yeah.
Why not?
Right, but
Why
at
not?
7, they're not interested in that.
Yeah, and then you have guys with maybe not the best credit.
Yeah,
14%. Like maybe you shouldn't buy a classic car today.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's tough. That's
not being a financial advisor for free, but like you're doing the right
Hopefully
thing.
it doesn't get me in trouble, but you know what I mean.
No, you're looking out for people. No, it shouldn't. No,
high.
With interest rates on used cars with difficult. Yeah, man, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. We sort of, and then you take that 14%, you add it to an inflated vehicle price, you put all that together, and you make the affordability of cars difficult. And I don't know. I mean, we kind of depend on them, man.
Yeah.
You know, I love the cars. All right, last question. Where we talked about it before the show, but I told you I would bring it up because I've always wondered, a classic car guy, where does he stand on EVs? And yes, it's well documented. My audience knows where I stand. Where do you stand as honestly as you can tell us?
I always try to stay silent because I'm going to piss someone off.
I know, and I don't want you to do that either way. Just, you were very good.
I don't mind them.
Okay.
For me, we talked about me and you. We travel, not practical.
Correct.
Now,
not the way we sit.
If you want to save emissions in your downtown and work in confined space or smaller areas,
living kind of existing in that area from there to the airport.
Then I'm all about saving stuff.
I get that.
Plan on that stuff, but and they're quick. I don't know why the guys. Some of these things are quick, and I think they just get mad that they spend all their time building their engines, and this guy buys one off the lot and it goes fast. It's fun to go fast like that. It's not I'll take my Viper or the Corvette any day,
sure,
with the rumbling, shifting gears and stuff. But it's still fun to go back.
Still fun to go fast, and if it's electric and it goes fast.
And we're car market evolves. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
Now should they EV that Charger? No, they better put an SRT motor in that thing real quick. Stuff like that. Come on, don't ruin it.
Don't go. Well, yeah, they already did that kind of, in my opinion, Ford did with the Mach-E thing.
Yeah.
Like that whole, like putting the Stallion on the back of that car is so odd to me, and it loses this other luster.
It does.
That I have. I've always been kind of a Chevy guy anyways, in full admittance. I grew up selling Chevys, so that's kind of where my allegiance lied anyways when I was younger. But yeah, it kind of ruined it for me. But again, then you see Chevy come out with the, with the Blazer, and the EV and the E, and there's, blue. Everyone's trying these different blends, but end of the day, dude, whatever. You don't have the infrastructure. I'm not going to get into it. Everyone knows how I feel.
It's a whole other topic, right?
Yeah, it really is. It's a whole other show. Maddie, man, thanks a lot, dude.
I appreciate it.
Awesome, Maddie. You were awesome. This was great. In studio, we don't do it often. That's the show, folks. Enjoy it. Let us know your thoughts. Share it with everyone else, and check out Maddie's all over LinkedIn. And thank you all for checking us out. We look forward to seeing you next time on 5 Minutes with Sean, maybe 10.